Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here to review Attack on Titan, Season 1, Episodes 1 through 4. I gotta say that I had gone on to, when I was to be first on Temu, I immediately saw this face staring at me. Because I had gone to find that somebody made a crochet mask of this. It was like a ski mask, but it was like this face. And I was like, yeah, I know where that face is from. And like it was kind of this temptation of like, well, should I get it? Would it make sense? Because I didn't really think about actually doing Attack on Titan when I was doing YouTube. I don't know, I just didn't think about it. But really, what did kind of after that just made me think about it more was just the fact of how much I barely watched Attack on Titan. Because I was to originally got on and gone into anime and a long time ago, many moons ago, and I was to even then find that Attack on Titan was a big title. Of course it was. It still is. And so I finally was to go on and to get Attack on Titan, start watching it. And I watched the pilot, and then I watched the second episode, and then I got to like halfway through the second episode, and I jumped off, and I just decided, okay, let's just sample other things, because I was at a point of so early in my anime watching that I just wanted to sample things. And I found other animes, and I just kind of forgot about this title. It just kind of got lost in the wash. But I wanted to finally redeem myself and watch more than just an episode and a half of this, so here's where we are. So, Attack on Titan. A lot of you have probably heard of this show, but some of you may not know the things that I may compare it to. When looking at Attack on Titan, I had gone on to also watch an anime called Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, and honestly, the shows are very similar. Yeah, Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress is like a zombie show that's mostly to be on a train, but believe me, folks, very similar. So if you are to like Attack on Titan and you've seen so much of it that you want a show very similar, I would recommend that. Of course, there's to be like the Pacific Rim movies that are very similar to this in so many ways. But anything, Attack on Titan, honestly, for the pilot episode, I would say that I honestly don't like the pilot episode, but after that, the show gets way better, I feel. It's strange. I am to go on and watch the pilot episode and get a freaking headache every time I watch it. But once I get past that, I really start to enjoy the episode. The stories get a lot better. Because in the first episode, oh my god, there is just Coward, Parasite, and people just like, who's gonna be the laziest one of them all? Like, let's figure that out. Because, like, we'd go on and we still find that throughout other episodes where they're trying to figure out who's cutting corners or who's not devoting themselves to this. And the people that are to go on and really want to devote their lives to this, that they're willing to hurt themselves and like injure, or really just be like, I'm gonna do this until I get killed or whatever. Like, I'd happily do this. And yeah, so those people are kind of finding one another that are devoting themselves and kind of carving away the people that are just getting to want to get to these cushy jobs or just figure out ways to just be lazy. So that is quite interesting to kind of see a show that also is kind of feel like My Hero Academia in some ways, but also is to kind of be this like world-ending kind of story also. So I'm kind of really interested to see how this plays out more. once I got past the pilot episode, which really was like, oh, thank God. Whoo! It's over. Yeah. Jesus. God, that pilot sucks. I guess they're just like, man, we're gonna really win people over on visuals that um that people are not gonna give a crap about the dialogue. No. People care about the dialogue in animes. I hate to break it to you. So we come to find out in the pilot episode, we make our way to have Eren kind of go through his normal day to day, going on to tell his parents that he wants to become a soldier. And the mother's like, no, you're not going to be becoming a soldier. And this is Carla we're talking about here. And we go and have Dr. Jaeger, who's Eren's father. That's like, you want to become a soldier? Okay. Like, I'm not going to stop you. Like, do whatever you want. Like, do whatever you dream. Like, if that's going to make you happy, do it. Like, great. At least you know what you want to be when you are going to grow up. So, Eren and Mikasa, I'm not quite sure the pronunciation of that name, so if I butcher it throughout this thing, I apologize. Also, I'm just kind of learning a lot of these characters either all over again or for the first time, so believe me, I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out 30 to 40 different names here for very brief times, I'm sure. But anyways, so for how much they focus on so many people. But anyways, and I'm sure the 30 to 40 that was over exaggeration because I'm gonna sum down a lot of these characters anyways. So Eren goes on and is to start to see that soldiers are being very lazy and starts talking to a guy named Hans or Haynes. I'm gonna go with Hans. And the soldiers start talking about there hasn't been 100 years since an attack, and so it's like, nah, whatever, kid. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, he doesn't, does he? So, all of a sudden, Eren goes through his normal day, and then all of a sudden, the world just stops and a pen drops because everybody is all looking in one direction. And it's over this massive gate that is tens of hundreds of feet tall. So, we come to find that this world has many circular layers of these gates. So, there's this one gate that is to be a very massive circular thing. Then there's another circular gate. Then there's a even smaller circular gate to this area. And so we'd come to find that Eren and his place is to have his gate get completely destroyed. We'd go on have the colossal Titan just be peeking over this fence, and we'd have Eren that says, wow, like we finally figured out now that this Titan is looking at this gate like a den and looking at humans as cattle, and now they are to be completely caught off guard. Also, like, it was kind of crazy by the last episode that I just saw how it just weirdly seemed like the colossal Titan, it looked like he just kind of teleported out of nowhere by that fourth episode. I don't know, that just seemed weird to me. Like, all of a sudden the guys were just kind of standing there like, and then all of a sudden he just appears, and they're like, what the fuck? So, yeah, like, even a group full of kids that are all watching this like this guy just comes out of nowhere and surprises them. So that is a bit of a strange thing going on there of how that happened. But anyways, I also want to get to know the patient zero of this all, of how this all started, because I'm curious about that, oddly enough. And I hope we'll get there. If anything, I think that it's probably just that, like, normal people eventually had become giants. I think is probably what happened. That's what I'm kind of getting from some certain cues of stuff that I kind of read a little bit of a sliver of. But if anything, I kind of want to be a little bit into the dark about this one, into the blue about this one. But also, I'm just like, I can take it or leave it. Anyways, so I'm not sure. So, uh, we'd have Eren that is going on to see this colossal titan appear, and then all of a sudden we have this armored titan that comes crashing through this gate, and now all of a sudden hell is broken loose, and a guy like Haynes, who's to be a soldier, is to realize that he doesn't have the weaponry, he doesn't have the ability to take on these titans, and all he can do at this point is just save as many as he can, as quick as he can, and just leave people for dead. That's all he's left to be forced to do. Because at some point, Eren runs back to his mother, and she's caught within her own home. And Eren and Mikasa are trying to like pull this roof off Carla, and they can't. And even Hans comes in, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do to get you out of here." As well as also, I think that you're kind of effed. So Hans just goes on and grabs both Eren and Mikasa and just gets the heck out of there. He bolts. Because Hans is to mention to Eren that Dr. Jaeger, like, they owe a great debt to, because at some point there's a plague going on, and the doctor was to be the one that kind of saved people, and we'd come to find that eventually the dad had kind of gone off on this whole travel, and he's just kind of on this horse and buggy, be like, "I'll get back to you, family. I'm hoping somebody might still be alive." I'm coming. Anyways, so we have Eren that is now left to go to this other town that obviously doesn't have the resources to support them, because this is all to be just like, yeah, this is so unexpected. Yeah, like, we don't have the resources for you people. Here's a thing of bread. That's your meal for the day. That's all you're gonna get, because, yeah, like, we're gonna run out of food if we try to keep feeding you people that just came in here. Yeah, this is a whole world that nobody has really gone on to think things through, as well as also, if you really think about it, like, it would make sense that these people don't have endless resources, but also, really, yeah, like, these were probably people that are to go on and probably have so very few people that stay alive anyways for very long. For how scouts are to go on and consistently end up dead, or soldiers are to be dead. Yeah, I would think the numbers would be more dwindling than they are increasing. But anyways, so that people have a lot more short lifespans. So Eren goes on to this other town and gets this bread, and he has no interest eating it because he's upset by the charity that these people are giving him, and he's upset by it. And at one point, when Eren is quick to go on and call people cowards and parasites, and all of a sudden, even his friend, who is to be Armin, he goes on and calls him a parasite. All of a sudden, Mikasa's like, well, yeah, we're all cowards. We're all parasites. We're all everything that you're going on and pointing a finger at. And so, what are you going to do about it? And so, Eren's like, well, I'll go on and I'll become the person that I said I wanted to be all along, which is to be this soldier. And I'll go on and I'll fight these titans and I'll kill every one of them because that's this driven character's goal, that he is going to go on and he is going to wipe the titan species out. He's going to wipe these giants out. He's going to figure out a way. He's going to be the one that brings this world back from the brink, it seems. So, either that or he'll die and he'll get replaced by 10 to 20 other people. Because at some point it'll probably happen. Anyways, so... But it's also really interesting when we have, like, the instructor, like the drill sergeant character that kind of comes in. And I don't have exact character names right in front of me. Keith. Keith goes on, and it's to be this kind of instructor, and he's going on like, yeah, you're gonna hate me. I'm gonna make your lives live in hell, and like, basically when you're like in any kind of military, yeah, like, you're gonna get this person that is gonna start right away of like, yeah, you're not gonna like your time here, but like, regardless, like, you're gonna learn something. So we'd have Keith that just starts to go through these recruits, and we'd have one girl who is Sasha. The one standout character is to be this character that is just eating this potato. And Keith, like, his mind is just broken by the fact that this girl is just eating this random potato in this line where, like, she obviously should be waiting to hear instructions, and this girl has not only just randomly just taken this potato, but is just going on and just eating it right in front of them. He's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm just eating a potato. And he's like, why are you eating a potato? Obviously no one else is eating potato. Like, why are you doing it? And she's like, well, because I'm hungry, and like, I thought it would make sense to have this potato inside of me to keep it warm. But Keith is still like, but why? Like, it's just breaking his mind that this girl is taking the time to just eat this because it's not the proper time. And this girl just doesn't give a shit. And so the girl's like, well, like, it really seems that you're just adamant about this whole potato thing. So I'll rip off half and I'll give it to you. And then Keith is just like, what am I going to freaking do with this? Like, it's so funny how just Keith, like, he is just, like, so godsmacked by this girl. And it's just so funny. Anyways, so, but Keith goes on, and he obviously goes on, and he, like, is to just start making fun of people and start to point people out, which of course will go on and we'll get more proper introductions of as Keith just kind of goes on and just starts to mention like his top recruits and rattles off their names and their profiles and if they're Sagittariuses and if they like long walks on the beach and all that kind of crap. And so within this class, we come to find Aaron and we'd find a guy named Gene, who it seems are kind of very neck and neck with one another. And we'd have Aaron that wants to go on and wants to be a scout. And Gene is like, why would you want to do that? Like, if anything, like, if you're doing well enough in this class, you would want to go on and you'd want to be, like, working alongside, like, the king or the MPs, like, get a position where you're going to have, like, the best life. You're going to get, like, 4 meals every day for, like, the rest of your life, just guaranteed. And Aaron's like, well, yeah, Gene, I'm sure you'd love a luxurious job like that because you'd never go on and get a lick of any Titan in front of your face for the rest of your life. So, yeah, it's all this like chess match or just like these perspectives of just like, yeah, if you want to go on, if you want to get that job, you're never going to put your life on the line. Like, yeah, like it'll be the best thing for you, as well as also there's certain other people that are to see how stupid Aaron is for going on and becoming the scout instead of going on and getting the best possible job. But Aaron's like, no, like I want to go and I want to go after Titans. I want to hump them down because of clearly his last name, but also just the fact that he is driven to being terrifyingly wanting to have one goal and achieve it. And so, as Aaron starts to make his way through this school, he starts to meet up with people because Aaron is to struggle at some points and needs to figure out certain ways of how to get better. So, Aaron goes on and starts to lean onto people and starts to ask them, hey, yeah, like I'm really struggling with this whole balancing thing of getting into the gear and trying to best be able to like balance. And the guys go on like, oh, so you're looking for some kind of trick or some kind of advantage. And Aaron's like, well, yeah, because this is the only problem that I'll have. And if I don't do well on this, like, I'm finished. That they'll basically force me off to farm for the rest of my life, and I don't want to do that. So, Aaron goes on to go with this group of guys to practice. And he figures out a way to nail it, but then he falls over. And then Aaron freaks out because, like, oh my god, like I failed. I'm finished. You're gonna kick me out. And then all of a sudden, obviously, like an anime, they love to just kind of go on and leave suspense. Like I was surprised they didn't go on a cliffhanger to this. Like next time on Attack on Titans, go into the other episode to see what's gonna happen because I knew they would do that like that. I knew they. I was just like, you're gonna with me, aren't you? But no. So Keith goes on and he explains about how the gear was to malfunction, and if anything, even with the gear malfunctioning, Aaron still was able for a short time to balance on it regardless. So he bested even the broken gear. And when they finally got a proper gear, it worked completely fine. So he's like, oh, sigh of relief that he's going to be able to go on and be able to do this. And even Keith is going on and saying like, well, yeah, uh, Carla, your son is going to be a soldier and what he's always ever wanted. So Aaron goes on and starts meeting up with guys like Hoover, and I know that his name is kind of something else in the story, but like this guy's named Hoover, as well as also there's to be another guy named Reiner, who's to be kind of like built like an ox, and like they say that whole phrase in the show. So Aaron goes on and meets up with them, and so they have stories about how their town had gotten ransacked by Titans, and how Aaron had gotten firsthand been able to see the Titans and how they attack and how they work. So, and not everyone has. So, and that's who was to go on and train Aaron how to perfect the whole gear thing. So, after that, Aaron goes on, gets into the gear, and just starts flying around and does really well in this class. So, eventually, after they go on and they seemingly almost like graduate from this class, because it's kind of like Top Gun, bizarrely, like this show is, honestly, where we'd have all these people go to this school in order to decide which kind of military they want to go on and they want to get into. And so since Aaron picks being a scout, then Mikasa is also going to be a scout because she's going to do whatever Aaron says. At some point, Aaron is to even go on and say that Mikasa's hair is getting too long. She's like, oh, should I cut it? How long should it be? Because she will do anything that Aaron says. And so it's just kind of really interesting to see. I want to see more of that relationship. Like, I want to see more about it because I'm kind of curious now. I'm kind of curious about like the kind of the early stuff and not so much like the current stuff that's going on. Like, I don't know, for me, I just wanted to see a little bit more backstory, oddly enough, in the show. So, we would go on to have characters like Sasha that's like endlessly running these laps, and then she collapses and finds this random person that's willing to give her food and drink because she had lost her food privileges for a number of days. And at some point she's going on and just desperately like hoping that people give her food, Sasha will, and it becomes like the comedy relief of the show. Then she is to go on and steal a big thing of meat by the fourth episode, and is to like, hey guys, I have this meat that I stole, and they're like, oh my god, like you're gonna get in prison for that. And she's like, well, if anything, like I'm sure any number of you will probably want to go on and probably want a slice of this, right? And then all of a sudden everybody's like, yeah, I'd like a sandwich. Like, god dang, yeah, you enticed me. I'll have a slice of that. Like, we haven't had meat in such a long time. Yeah. So, and then by then, that is when all of a sudden the colossal Titan appears, and boom, we're off to the races of Aaron facing off against uh, his nemesis and wanting to get even. Because now he has the tools to fight this thing and see if he can win. For how driven that this guy is, like, is he gonna go on and be successful at it to take this thing down, or is the colossal Titan gonna be the face of the show, and or there are going to be other ones somewhere down the road that we aren't even aware of? In his Moses's arm, gonna be the last of them all. It's Moses' arm going to be the one thing that is be the changing the tide of this whole entire show. Um, that was so like I guess it makes sense, but also it's just like the soldier goes on and brings back his mother his arm, and so she's like, ah, man, she's just like only like I'm like this is my son, like that's all you have left of him is just an arm. But anyway, yeah, like I guess it makes sense. That's all they could get back of him. And so this guy just bursts in tears and is to apologize to the mother. It's like, well, yeah, like he died, and this is all we have left of him. So I honestly think anything else, because I've been talking for 30 minutes about the show, anything else I want to go and break down in the spoilers, plus also I feel like I need to speed up all the way through all of this. So, and there's a lot of details that I missed. So, with that said, uh, if I haven't said already, check out Attack on Titan on Anify, Anify, or also there is the Animochi, Animochi. Both apps that you need a mobile device, a Google Play Store. I would recommend a tablet or an iPad, but if I already said all this, then you know what all this rigmarole is to be. So, fortunately for me, I'm going to go into more of the breakdown and spoilers of all the show and try to rush through all of that. So, if honestly you want a more detailed review, you'd probably have to find it maybe somewhere else. But also, hopefully you go on and somehow enjoy this and have a good day. Because I think it's about that time to say that it is spoil time. Spoil time is about that time to spoil this bit of a show. Because, it's about that time for me to go on and pause this video for a second, get out the stuff that I need to get to talk about the breakdown of the show. So I'll pause this here. I will be right back. Alright, so in the very beginning of this, here is where we have the Colossal Titan that shows his hand and face over the gate, kind of like we're going on and we're seeing here. So we'd immediately have the narrator, who is Eren, who goes on to the whole opening setting up of that everything has changed, that this is the terrifying moment, that they find that their home is to now turn into a den, and humanity is now cattle for this Titan, this colossal Titan. So we now cut to a number of scouts that have all gone on to this skirmish, have all gone onto this pilgrimage, this road trip. And one of them is to go on and be a guy named Moses, who's in the flock here. And so one of the scouts goes on and talks about splitting into 5 groups, and that they're going to use their gear, and they're going to go on and face off against this Titan. And then we cut back to Eren, who's with Mikasa, and she's trying to wake Eren up, and Eren's going on and talking about a dream. And so Eren and Mikasa have these like backpacks full of bits of wood for a fire, because I guess it's probably going to transition into winter at some point, maybe, in this environment. So Mikasa ends up asking Eren if he was crying, and at some point Eren tells Mikasa, like, hey, don't let anybody know I was crying. So now we get some shots of the environment, and they talk about the massive walls, and they go into uh, have both uh, Aaron and Mikasa meet up with Mr. Hans, and they start talking. So Aaron goes on and notices that Hans is smelling like a tavern, and he starts to then realize that all the guards are actually drinking. And so Hans goes on and says, like, well, yeah, like that's a perk about being a guard. And so Aaron goes on and says that they have a responsibility to fight, and Hans says that there's no real reason to be fighting for anything. So, and also they want this kid to much more quiet down at some point. But Aaron is just upset by the fact that these guys are getting more lackadaisical, and it seems that if a battle does break out, this place will definitely not be ready for it. So, as the more this argument goes on, there's a bringing up of Aaron's father. Oh yeah, you're the doctor's son. Oh yeah, the guy that saved everyone from the plague. So Hans kind of goes on and gives Aaron a break, because the more that Aaron starts to argue, it's kind of getting fall on deaf ears anyways. So eventually we'd have Aaron and Mika pass, and Hans starts talking about Jaeger. And so we now start to have the scouts coming in, and one of them ends up being a guy named uh, Irwin, who I think eventually we'll see a lot more of, but not right now. Like we kind of briefly see him. So these scouts start coming in, and at one point we have a woman running in who's Moses' mother, and going on and asking one of the scouts, hey, where is my son? Shouldn't he be with you? And the scout goes on and says, yeah, we better hand it to her. And so she unravels this cloth that just has Moses's arm. And so the scout goes on and mentions about how her son was brave, and how he stood his ground, and his death meant something to them, and that he had sacrificed himself for them, and he was brave. And so after the scout is like tears with his eyes to this woman, saying what had gone to happen, uh, we then would have Aaron that runs off and he falls over, and uh, Mirakasa goes on to help Aaron get his piece of wood back into his backpack and they make it on home. So here's where Eren and Mikasa make their way back to home and speak with his mother. Mikasa, of course, is very happy that Eren was able to get a good number of pieces of wood, so that way they'll have something for the fire for winter time. And or maybe just a fire for a furnace or something. So as all of them get together at this dinner table, here is where Mikasa goes on and says that Eren has a secret, and the parents are like, "Oh, like, what is the secret?" And so Eren is going to mention about how uh, he wants to go on and he wants to um, be a scout, and because he's going on and he's talking about nightmares and he's talking about all these other things. So we have Dr. Jaeger that leaves because he's mentioned how he has to go to a ferry and travel. And so Dr. Jaeger is going on and telling his son, it's like, well, hey, yeah, whatever you want. Like, if you want to be a soldier, that's fine. And so Dr. Jaeger goes on and leaves with this key in his hand. And so at some point, I think Carla is still arguing with Eren about the whole him becoming a scout thing, and how Carla is turning to uh, Mikasa and telling her it's like, hey, you better protect him, and I'm counting on you. So Eren goes on and makes his way into town and finds that Armin is getting bullied. I think it's Armin. So the blonde kid that kind of becomes like almost Eren's best friend, but of course we have um, Mikasa. So Armin is getting bullied here, and uh, like he's getting bullied because he had won something, Armin, because he was smarter than the other guy, and this other guy is just a poor loser. So all of a sudden, the bullies come to find that Eren comes in and like, oh yeah, we don't really give a about Eren. But then all of a sudden, Mikasa comes in and like, oh man, she's a real threat, and these are running away from her, which I thought was kind of funny. So Eren scrambles and gets Armin and brings him back to his feet, and so Armin and Eren start talking. So I'm trying to really try to figure out fast ways to kind of talk about all this because I don't want to get lost in the dialogue because I feel it's going to be so freaking easy to do so. Um, but anyways, so to try to figure out what is kind of important here and what to kind of leave off. And I'm not here either. So, uh, let me pause for a second so I can get my place. Okay, so Armin starts talking to Aaron about the whole like, hey, did you tell your parents about the scout thing? And yeah, Aaron does go on and say that. He goes on and say that like, yeah, his parents kind of didn't take it very well. But anything, also, it's like, well, yeah, it's actually good that you're becoming a scout because if anything, like these walls can't hold forever, and also like strength in numbers. So all of a sudden, as Aaron, Armin, and Mikasa just kind of continue to just kind of wander around everywhere and just talk a little bit here and there. All of a sudden, here is where finally the colossal titan ends up peeking over the gate, and everybody just stops dead in their tracks, and they're all just like, So the colossal titan, it seems to be ever so strong that he is to bash a piece of the gate open, which starts to have other titans start to come through. So that's why everybody is scrambling and running around, being like, we have to go, we have to go. What direction do we need to go? Like, and Aaron's like, well, I'm getting back to my mom's house. And so, if anything, people are contemplating about this being the end. They're gonna die. They're gonna get devoured. Blah blah blah. So Aaron is now running back to his home, hoping that his home is fine. He's like, please let my home be fine. Please let my home be fine. And so he runs back to his house, and he comes to find that his mother is stuck underneath this roof. So Aaron and Mikasa are trying to lift up this roof, and obviously they don't have the strength to do so. But also there is that whole legend of this mother who had her kid caught under this car or something like that. It's some urban legend where she all of a sudden had this like absurd strength during this one time, so that way her family member had gotten away from being trapped or something like that. So like that is the myth, the thing that we all strive to just be like, well, we could be stronger, but for some reason we just could not channel that part of our body this day. So as Aaron and Mikasa are scrambling to try to get this roof from um off away of Carla, we have what I will call the Dyna Titan, because if anything, I couldn't figure out the exact Titan name of this. At some points, I think some people were calling it the Joker Titan or the Smiling Titan. I don't know. I'll just go on and call it the Dyna Titan because that's what I kind of found out when I was kind of looking through the information, that I specifically found that this one had a name originally. So Aaron goes on to keep trying to get this roof off, regardless of this Titan being there. He doesn't care about it. All he cares about is his mother. So Hans scrambles in, and Hans is going to try to also do anything he can to free Carla, and Carla is telling Hans, just get my kids out of here and go. And Hans is like, that's not the only option. Like, I'm going to be able to get you out. And Carla's like, even if you free me, my legs are both broken. You're going to have to carry me. You're not going to be able to do it. So Hans realizes that Carla is right. And that also there's nothing that Hans can do to attack this Titan to take it out, because he just doesn't have the resources. He doesn't have the weaponry. He doesn't have the gear. he just can't do it. So Hans realizes that he is to be owed, or he is to need to fulfill this debt that he owes. So Hans goes on and is to realize that he should, of course, go on and do what Carla said. He goes on and grabs the kids and then runs off. And Carla is to thank Hans, and Aaron is to be thrusting out his hands for his mother. And the two of them say their I love yous, and there's flashbacks to the moments that they had together. So the Titan goes on and rips off the roof, grabs Carla, and of course goes on and eats her and kills her. Sadly enough, R.I.P. Carla. So we now cut to be continued, which ends this episode. So now in the second episode, they're a lot more descriptive about this world to help us much more understand. And to explain that these Titans have been a thing for 100 years, that they've been roaming the world, and they have a taste of human blood, and so they have brute strength and all these other things. So they've brought the world to the brink of extinction, and they also go on and they explain the whole tiers of how this location is to all be fenced in. To explain, it's like, okay, yeah, like they broke into one part of this mini circle or maze of gates, and they had to now withdraw to this other part of these circles and be back in a place of peace for now, but we'll see how long that lasts. So going into episode 2, we'd come to find Titans going on and rampaging still through this town. People still getting grabbed and killed and eaten. And then we have Eren and Mikasa that are running off. And so Eren is wanting to hope that he can do something, but Hans is explaining to him that he can't, that he's just a kid, he's not strong enough. And Hans is going to realize with tears in his eyes that Eren's mother had died because he wasn't strong enough to help her. And eventually he'll go on in later episodes go on to explain about how Eren's mother's death had really wrecked him and had like been haunting him. And then Eren's like, well, good, because now we know better, because now we're going to go and we're going to put forth the effort the next time around. So people are going on and saying to keep the eye on the gate, and like soldiers, and they're trying to figure out some kind of defensive measures to slow the Titans down, at least, if nothing else. So all of these survivors are scrambling to get onto these ferries to transition. And it's getting to the point where so many people are getting on these ferries that people are desperate to get onto them. And so they're jumping onto the ferries, even though there's probably too many on there already. Like some people are going on and saying, like, hey, like, get my son on there, at least have my son on there. Yeah, there's gonna be too many people. Like the the ferry is going to sink. So people are getting onto these ferries, and they are finally making their way uh, to try and survive. So soldiers are using cannons against certain titans, and uh, so I'm trying to figure out where to like perfectly transition here. Um, there are soldiers that don't know how to use even the the cannons very well. So of course they weren't really trained very well. Plus, also they haven't probably done cannons in I don't know how long. It's not like they've really practiced on it, so that's their mistake. If anything, yeah, there's probably a number of people that are all out of practice. So if anything, they're just willy nilly hoping that they're like. Think of this, folks. We have police officers. They consistently have to go on and they have to do target practice. So that way they can go on and know that they can shoot either in the chest or in the head if they really have to. But they have to have target practice to kind of keep that they can still go, that they can, like, if push comes to shove, they can whip out their guns and have to kill somebody if it comes down to it. So, or otherwise, they're going to get killed in the process. So, cops have to go on and go to a gun range and practice shooting. But I'm sure these soldiers have never gone on and shot a cannon in I don't know how long. So that's their mistake of not practicing because how could they? So they're going to really just miss the mark a lot. So a lot of people are also, even soldiers themselves, are realizing that all of this is pointless, that they can just go to the next gate and hide away there. And so we start to have soldiers that are kind of going on and arguing with one another, and certain soldiers are going on and not wanting to retreat. So now here's where we have the armored titan that is bashing through the gate and wreaking all kinds of havoc. He's just running. He's not grabbing anybody, not killing anybody. He's just running through. He's bashing through this whole thing. Like he's the rhinoceros of titans. So like he's like the juggernaut, if you know, of course, that Marvel character. So once the armored titan comes in, everybody realizes that this is a waste of time. After this guy comes through, they're like, yeah, we're gonna surrender here, we're gonna retreat because there's no way we're beating this thing. So they cut to the other gate, and and so now it's here, whereas we go on and have a number of these kind of officials uh, that are all talking out here. And let me kind of pause here for a second. Okay, so honestly, for the first 2 episodes, I caught this very late last night, and I was very in and out. Like, I was consistently, like, I'd go on and I'd start to watch part of this, and I'd immediately doze off, and then I'm like, okay, I want to try to keep, like, every time I woke up, I was like, okay, I'll cover a little bit of this, and then I kept dozing off. Yeah, it just kept happening. So it's kind of very in and out. So I would go on and definitely need to um, be there to watch every bit of this, but it was just like I kept, like, whatever I did miss, I'd go right back to and cut to the part that I knew the most or remember the most, and I just rewatch it over again until I got the completion of it. Because yeah, I like definitely wanted to make sure that I got a good chunk of these episodes and got a good understanding of what was going on, because I don't want to leave people into the lurch. So yeah, like, so for these first 2 episodes, I was kind of in and out, but also every single time I made sure that I wanted to get every gist of what was going on and not just kind of be unsure about anything. So we have the central government here, and we have these political figures that are going on to mention about how there's hundreds of refugees that are all coming into Rose to seek shelter. And we have kind of figures here that are going on and talking about how they're kind of unsure how clean these people are, um, because there have been outbreaks in the past, and so talking about the whole plague thing. So there's a lot of soldiers that are at this point kind of almost feeling like there's a possibility that they've probably given up hope. That if anything, everybody's probably giving up hope. That they're probably thinking that this is to probably be finally the end. So Aaron is going on and thinking about his mother and kind of being on the brink of just losing it, and probably at such a state of grief that he is to completely exhaust himself. I've had that happen where, like, it was the first ever time of dealing with a family member's death and realizing that they were having a funeral, and like I had gotten to a point of just being so emotional about that loss, because the first time it ever happened to me, that I completely like exhausted myself and I got sick from it, because I just didn't, I didn't know, like I yeah, like that was the first ever time dealing with that, and I was just like, I just dehydrated myself from all the crying I was doing. So yeah, I didn't think about it. So Aaron is be crying out that he wants to kill every one of them. He wants to kill every single Titan. So Aaron is to explain to us that the central government is to plan that his part of town was to have been rendered uh, no longer viable, and that it's a lost cause. So he's to have to go on a retreat back to the wall that's to be called Rose. And we then have his father that's on this horse and buggy, and he's hoping that his family is still alive. So Aaron is going on and is sleeping, and Mika is trying, or Mikasa is trying to wake him up and explain to him that there's food available for them, so they have to go. So Eren goes on and makes his way to find that Armin is to be handing him a thing of bread to say or explain to him that like this is basically what's left of their meals. And like he's even lucky to have gotten this bread because people had to go on and had to kind of lie to get more bread out of these people because yeah they weren't just going to hand them out willy-nilly to anybody, so yeah people had to lie so they can get more bread. So Armin is basically telling Eren, it's like, well, hey, whatever you do, try to make that bread really last. Because, yeah, we don't know when the next time we're even going to eat. So, people were even fighting in the streets because obviously, low on food, like, would probably anger anybody. But really, to have lost everything that these people lost, like, I'm sure, yeah, it would upset anyone. People dying, all kinds of things. Mistakes that people made that probably cost certain families certain things. You don't know. So here's where we'd go on and have one of the soldiers that goes on to talk about how these new refugees, like he's kind of upset about how they have to go on, how they actually have to feed them. And it's like, yeah, like we can't wait to fatten you refugees up and like you guys will be fed to the Titans sometime soon, I'm sure. Like if anything, you're gonna be a buffer at this point, because when goes down, like yeah. So Eren is to be the one guy that goes on and confronts said soldier and starts to just fight with him. The soldier goes on and thrusts Eren down to the ground and calls him all kinds of cowards, spineless, everything in between. And so at some point, our men gets in front of Eren and apologizes for Eren's behavior and just is like, "I'm sorry, he's just hungry." So yeah, like that's all it is. So if anything, the soldier just walks off and Eren starts talking to Armin and Armin is so easy to write off that since Eren doesn't have much to eat anymore, that anything that he's saying at this point is just driven by his stomach and nothing else. And so at this point, Eren is just getting upset that it's like, no, this is what I truly feel, and he throws the bread at Armin because he doesn't want to eat it anymore, and he doesn't want anyone's charity, and he feels that probably too much has already been handed to them anyways. So, and then all of this is just going to be a waste of time anyways, because what's next for them to do? It's all to just be killed by the Titans anyways. So, as more that Eren talks to Armin, uh, there's the whole parasite coward thing. Eventually, uh, Mikasa goes on to punch Eren and drops him down, and finally makes him see that if anything, they're all cowards. They're all parasites. And if anything, Mikasa goes on and shoves the thing of bread in Eren's face and and forces him to eat and says like, "Hey, your mother told me to keep you alive, and I'm going to keep that promise." So she shoves the bread in his face and tells him to eat it. So now we get to find that the people had really very much started to run out of resources and started to run out of food. And so they had to figure out how to raise more food, or otherwise, more people were going to die. And so they go on to kind of break down all these things going on about the soldiers and the titans, and Eren talks about how he's going to try to apply to be one of the cadets, and he wants to become strong enough to be able to fight back and 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 kill the titans. And both Armin and both uh, Mikasa are going on and telling Eren, it's like, well, hey, I'm going with you. And definitely Mikasa is, because like anything that Eren's gonna do, she's gonna do the exact same thing. She's not gonna change any course of her life. She's going to follow Eren up to the point of death if that's what she has to do, or she's gonna sacrifice herself to save him. So now here's where we cut to Keith, and he goes on and explains how everyone's gonna grow to hate him as all these cadets are in front of him. So he goes on to say how this will go on and be basically their own hell, and so every time everybody dreams, they'll have nightmares of this place, and so on and so forth. Like basically going on and putting the fear of God in these people. So as we go along in this group, immediately we then turn it to Jaeger, and so Jaeger goes on and says on the screen that I'm a fighter, uh, and before I'm done, uh, the Titans will grow to hate me, and I'll kill every one of them. And then we cut to the end of this episode. Now we're on to episode 3. We're almost there. A dim light amid despair. I guess I probably should have gone on and said the episode names, but I didn't think about it until now. Because I did go on and clip every one of them, but I just didn't think about saying it. So we're on episode 3 now. So now I'm to go on and gotta get a clear idea about what's going on more with these episodes because I wasn't half awake while watching them. So, which was nice. So Keith is starting to go through the recruits, and the first one he goes on and sees is Admin, and he goes on and he puts his hand over Admin's head, like almost like a dog, like kind of just like patting his head, but he kind of like grabs onto his hair, and calls Admin a great snack for Titan one day. Um, hoping to kind of upset people enough that they'll be driven to call him out. I think Keith then turns to uh oh, this is a guy named Thomas Wagner. It says so in here. And Thomas Wagner, I think I also get confused with another guy named Reiner, who they talk about how he's like an Ox character. And I think later on he's with Hoover, and the two of them are going on and they're talking to Jaeger about him witnessing the Titans. And at some point, uh, Aaron just gets really popular with everybody because he's going to tell the tale about how his town had gotten rampaged by the Titans, and maybe just them hearing this story of Aaron could kind of be more alert or more aware about what Titans really are do. Um, but anyways, so we all of a sudden have these cadet instructors that come combing by, and so this cadet instructor goes on and mentions about how all these are just cadets, and how he's looking at all these newbies coming in, and it really is to kind of take him back for how old this instructor is now. And this instructor is to go on and kind of explain a little bit of things that if we're kind of unsure about. Like, eventually this instructor goes on as they're going on and doing this test where they're kind of put into this kind of test gear kind of apparatus that he goes on and explains, like, okay, um, this will be the test of whether or not people make it or not. Like, this will be the biggest test. If they can't go on and if they can't operate this rig, then they're not going to be able to go on and be able to be a scout. It's just not going to work for them. They're going to be forced to just be farmers, and either that or they'll just have to quit. So, and the instructor goes on and says, like, yeah, this will separate, like, basically the girls from the boys, so to speak. To say that some people are all talk, but eventually once they get through this test, they realize that maybe they're not going to be cut out for this. And the instructor even goes on and looks at Aaron and looks at him and says he's probably not going to be the one that's probably going to be cut out for this. So that's kind of interesting. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So Keith goes on and starts passing through a number of cadets, and here is where, after I think or Kurt Sheen Kersheen we have this guy who's going on and supposedly joining the military police, but he's weirdly just bowing onto the ground for some odd reason. And then we get a guy named Marco, and Keith chews into him. We have another cadet named Connor that Keith lifts up by the head and touches his very, like, buzz cutted head. It's kind of funny. So, and he's like lifting, and his eyes are just kind of like peeled back. And then this is where we get to Sasha, and his mind is just broken by this girl, and it's just awesome. So, and she goes on and gives him half, and he's like, so he just walks off after that. So Keith is to send Sasha to do these running drills, and we then see whoever doesn't make it goes onto this wagon and goes out to these farms, and Aaron can't believe that someone would rather go on and quit or give up on this because it's too hard for them, and not to do everything that they can to be a scout. Honestly, not everyone can go on and be able to, like, everyone has like their breaking point. Plus, also, like, everybody is to at least try something and then they find out really that it's not for them. Everyone is to go on and at least want to try something, but then realize that it's too hard. Like, I think a lot of people would have like these life goals and these big things that they want to accomplish, but then realize that, like, this isn't working out. Like, before I was doing mainly movie and show reviews, I was doing gameplays and from time to time doing movie and show reviews. But then I started to realize that, like, I'm not really good at like gameplay talk. I'm just saying a lot of just stuff that just kind of feels like a broken record. But also, it's just kind of like this really isn't where my heart is at. So I kind of gave up on that, and then I just went on to just do this. And like, I'm just like, I feel a lot better. I feel like I'm a lot happier. Even though also, like, this is very hard. It's very challenging. It's very like, it's like, man, I could have gone on and done something with YouTube that was a lot easier, but no, I decided to do this. So I felt that, like, man, how am I going to figure out a way to do this easier? And it's never going to happen. Um, but at least I can go on and just be more fulfilled, and just having more recently a lot more fun. So if anything, I can be fine about that. Um, and then if eventually, if for whatever reason that this ends up becoming to be what it becomes, then all for it. So, anyways, so here is where Aaron goes on to talk about where he's from, and that's where people turn to Aaron's like, wait a minute, you're from um Sheena? Like, you guys were attacked by Titans. Like, what happened there? So Aaron goes around this table and everybody's like, please tell us what you know. So, because if anything, Aaron's place was the most recent attacked by newer Titans that are way bigger than probably anything that anyone has ever seen yet. So, Aaron goes on and tells his story, and eventually, at some point, the further and further they start asking, Aaron starts to choke on his food because it brings back up his mother and that she's dead. And then all of a sudden, people are kind of pulling away and like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't go on. Maybe we shouldn't keep pushing about this because, like, any number of people could have died in front of them or whatever. So yeah, that could have been a very traumatic experience. But in the background, we also see a guy named Gene, and um, so Gene goes on and starts poking Aaron and starts asking if he's crazy or something, if he has a death sentence, and and so So the more that Jean and Aaron talk, and Jean realizes that Aaron is kind of getting upset here, and Jean is like, I probably should go on and finally just apologize to you. Like, I know that this is really starting to irk you, and I know I probably did call you names and all these other things. So he goes on, he takes his hand out, and all of a sudden, Jean goes on and notices um, Mikasa, and all of a sudden, as Aaron walks off, Jean then goes on and sees Mikasa and grabs her and says, "Excuse me," it's like, "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen." And he starts blushing, and Mikasa goes on and says, "Thank you." But then she goes back with Aaron, and so Aaron and Mikasa starts talking, and Aaron starts talking about how long her hair is getting, and he's like, maybe, yeah, you should probably just start to cut it. And that's funny because Gene had just gone on and talked about how he loves this girl's hair, like this black hair, like he really loves her hair, and Aaron is telling her to cut it off. And she's like, "Oh yeah, you want it shorter? Like how short should I go?" So, yeah, I'm trying to get my second wind here about trying to figure out how to break this all down. So, Gene all of a sudden goes outside and he bumps into one of the cadets, who I think is the Connie, or yeah, Connie. So Gene goes on and wipes his hand on the back of Connie, I guess because Gene had touched Mikasa with that hand, and so he didn't want like the scent or the stink of her. So he was to go on and just push his hand on Connie's back, and Connie's like, "What the did you just do?" And so Connie is like trying to figure out like what the guy did with his shirt, and Jean says, "Yeah, um, I just wiped off like I think he says something about I just wiped off like the trust or something that he had from talking to that woman off on that guy's back because he just touched her with that hand. So, because he thought he could trust her and he was wrong. Um, because he says, "Don't worry, it was just my trust." So, here's where Sasha is to finally collapse and she's utterly exhausted. And there's to be another cadet, uh, this blonde haired girl, that has this food and this water. And so Sasha is now begging from this girl. And so she's grabbing this piece of bread and drinking from this water. I think we have this cadet that I'm really not exactly sure what her name is. I want to say that it's probably Yuri, but I'm honestly not. Or Ymir. Ymir, is that it? Maybe it's Fritz. Let me know in the comments below. I'm sure you're probably not an hour and a half in still hearing this, but I'm not quite sure who this character is, and I don't think that I'll care to really go through it in the dialogue to figure out exactly. But anyways, so I'll go with Fritz and hope that I'm right. So Fritz goes and asks what these two girls are going on and doing, and as soon as Sasha goes on and eats and drinks, she all of a sudden collapses, and Fritz is to go on and put Sasha over her shoulder, and the cadet is to ask Fritz, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the girl's like, "I'm taking advantage of Sasha because if I go on and if I help her, this one time, she owes me one, and I'll use that against her in the future. Which is, man, is that smart. Yeah, if you go on and if you are to really gain people's trust and have them um like hey, yeah, this person actually helped me, then it's like, well, yeah, like, plus also, like, in turn, whenever you to go on and ask them of anything, they'd be willing to, because you helped them out before. I don't know if this girl is probably taking advantage of Sasha or something. I hope nothing happens to her. But anyways, so here's where Keith goes on and is to strap people into the aptitude test. And so this is where you'll see if people can perform or not, and if they're going to be able to become scouts or not. So this is to say if these people are going to make it out onto the field. And so this instructor is going by and basically saying, like, okay, this is to show the girls and boys kind of thing. Like, I don't want to keep saying that because it's like girls and boys, there's no difference. Um, if anything, I guess it would be more like it separates the boys from the men. That these people are going to be strong enough to be able to be qualified, like they've grown up to I don't know, like, I don't know the perfect analogy here. So uh so here is where Jaeger goes into his test, and he goes on and he is upside down, and so Keith goes on and writes off the kid as like, well, hey, he can't figure this out, so there's evidently something wrong with him. And so they get him out of the gear, and he, who is Aaron, is realizing this can't be happening. How is it that only for Aaron this malfunction is to happen, but everyone else, plus also, like, Aaron keeps going into the same testing thing, and it doesn't work every time. But either way, so if anything, um, Mikasa and Armin are trying to figure out how to help Aaron do this test and try to pass. And so they're trying to explain to him about how he should have his waist and legs and how it's all about balance. And so they tell him to lose his stance and all these other things. So eventually he'll try to go on and do it and just smack his head, and he'll end up having a bandage over his head. And so Armin and Mikasa are hoping that Aaron will figure out a way to do some kind of practice so he'll be able to perfect uh, and qualify. And if anything, uh, we also have Aaron talking about the day that his town was attacked, and and Aaron is going to do everything in his power to not just walk away here, and he's very determined. So we have, as Mikasa is going on and starting to talk here, she then turns and then realizes that Aaron is no longer there, and And so as Sasha goes on and turns to Mikasa, thinking like, "Oh, are you talking to me?" Sasha goes on and asks Mikasa, like, "Are you gonna eat that bread?" So, uh, Mikasa goes on it and takes the bread. It's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna freaking eat it." This is pain in the ass. So, uh, so if anything, Eren is going around to everybody, desperately asking if there's some kind of trick to what they're doing, and everybody is unwilling to explain anything to Eren or help him. So Eren goes on to, I think, get to Reiner and Hoover, and as they go on and they start to speak with them, as well as also um, Armin is on with Eren, and so all of a sudden Hoover is to talk about what his goal was, and that he also was to talk about how he too was to not having alarms go off when his town had gotten attacked and nobody knew. All of a sudden, like, Hoover was to kind of open his door one day and a Titan was just there. "Hey, how's it going?" And everybody was just caught off guard. So because Hoover's town was southeast of Wall Maria. So anything, the longer and longer that Hoover goes on about his story about what it all happened, and all four of them are now making to the testing ground to go on and help Eren figure this out because of how Eren wants to go on and he wants to do this. So we then cut to the following day, and Keith is testing Eren, and here's where he goes on and ends up balancing, and everybody's like, "Oh, he did it! He did it!" And then all of a sudden, we find that Eren falls upside down again, and Eren's like, "Oh my god!" Like, "No, I'm not gonna give up yet. Don't unharness me. Don't take me out of this. Like, I'm going to get this." Eren is pleading to Keith to not take him out of this gear, and we would then have Keith that's like, "No, take him out of the gear," and Keith is like, or Keith, Eren is like, "I'm done. Like, there's no way I'm coming back from this." So then Keith goes on to explain, "Hey, yeah, you know, I just noticed that there's something wrong with your belt. Let's go on and let's swap belts here because, yeah, there's something wrong with this belt. And if anything, you weren't even supposed to go on and be able to have balanced even the first time that you just did because this belt is broken and you shouldn't have been able to even gone on to, but you did anyways." And everybody was shocked about that, like, "Oh my god, like with a broken belt, he still was able to do that anyway? Wow." Not everybody started to get way more impressed. So Eren does it perfectly, and Eren is just so happy that he didn't wash out, and he just thrusts his fists in the air and he realizes that he's done it. And that he's able to now fight Titans. And so everybody's going on and saying that they see the look in his eyes, and it's like, hey, yeah, look at me. And Mikasa's like, no, the look in his eyes is that he'll never leave me. Like, what the heck are you talking about? What are you talking about? Huh? Like, what? What nonsense? What? Anyways, so uh and here's where Keith goes on and is to I think to say to Carla that it's like, look, your son has become a soldier. Either that or maybe uh Grisha. Grisha? I don't know who Grisha is. Is that Carla? I have no idea. Uh but anyways, so that's who Keith is talking about here. Maybe that's maybe that's Dr. Jaeger. I have no idea. We're cutting here. Uh, so by the end of this, we have Jaeger, who is in the gear, and he's he's flinging around. He's slinging around with this gear. Um, Finally being able to go on and realize that he can go on and be able to use this gear to go through whatever this gear is really called. I have no idea. Like, I don't want to go on and get to the whole nitty gritty of the detail of the gear and what all it does, so I'm gonna probably f that up a lot. So now we kind of get to episode 4, because this is to be continued. And there's kind of in this episode there is kind of like a recapping of before in a way. But anyways, so after the kind of a little bit of a recap here, uh, about the whole like no stop, Carla dying, uh, Eren needing to be forced to go to the town of Wall Rose, and now this is year 850, 2 years after joining the cadets. So now a lot of time has passed because we honestly have to go on and have to have like Jaeger has to kind of grow up, and he kind of has to kind of do like they want to have their character play at a very certain age also, and I'm sure for probably the show they probably have like that certain people can only do certain tasks. So plus also you want to go on and have a lot of time pass to make like, okay, now this person has taken uh 2 years of their life to become stronger, and now they're more durable, and now they're older, and they're more experienced, and da 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 da. Yeah, like we want to go on and have that journey kind of be uh, shifted very quickly. So now we have all the scouts here that are running alongside, I think, Keith on this horse. And we have Armin that is getting very tired with holding his backpack, and we again have Keith that goes on and says, Armin, you're gonna be a snack one day. So here's where we have Reinen come in, and he grabs Armin's backpack, and Armin turns around like, hey, you can't do that. And Reinein's like, who's gonna know? Who's gonna care? Like, no one's gonna be paying attention. So like Reiner is strong, so he's willing to just take both of these backpacks. He doesn't care. So as Armin kind of catches his breath, Armin goes on and grabs his backpack back from Reiner, because he's like, no, I'm not gonna be just some pushover. Like, I wanna prove that I deserve to be here. So he takes his backpack and puts. Good for him, Armin. So, so here is where Keith goes on and starts to explain who all these people are. The people that we haven't really even met yet, also, like, or who we saw briefly, like Annie. Um, and going on and explaining all of their skills and eventually uh getting to characters that we knew a little bit more of, like Jean and all of their skills. But like, I'll leave it to the episode to go on through the, like, okay, he's a Sagittarius, he likes long walks on the beach, and like he likes to drink milk from a cart. I don't want to say any of that bullshit. Like, come on. Like, if anything, that's what the episodes are there for. Check that stuff out. We're gonna cut to more nitty gritty stuff here. Uh, oh, I love how they say that Connie is a few sandwiches short of a picnic. Just the insults. So, like, I guess, like, if you guys remember the whole Captain America First Avengers, where it's like, man, that kid needs a sandwich. Yeah, I guess that's true for Connie, sadly enough. So, but also they say how Mikasa is to be this, like, genius, and yet, like, she's doing this. Like, she's really good at, like, anything. She's very versatile. And so, if anything, why isn't that she's like, if anything, I really think that, like, Mikasa should just be better than everybody, but she's not. She just goes on and just lets Eren be better than everybody. Um, because if anything, like, Keith saves Eren for last and speaks about Eren last. And say how basically he's so driven, it's terrifying for how driven he is. And that he's probably also a little bit crazy. Um, well, I guess the terrifying would be crazy anyways. Um, but he's also kind of not the smart one either. But anyways, so, and he's a Sagittarius. So, Jaeger and Reiner are going on and doing practice fighting with these knives. Eren doesn't even understand why they're even doing this. And Reiner is like, well, it's having us do all these classes because we never know where we're going to be up against. Like, at any point, they're also, like, they're scouts, but they're also technically soldiers. And yeah, like, if anything, maybe this whole knife thing will make a lot more sense later on for them to be more versatile to any situation. And so Eren goes on and bests Reiner, but then all of a sudden Reiner is to point Eren in the way of a girl named Annie. But Reiner goes on and asks Eren, it's like, hey, that Annie girl, what do you think of her? And so at some point they go on and they think that she's like, she's a slacker. And so Reiner turns to Eren, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna give her a talk to. Like, I don't really like this girl, so I'm gonna just piss her off. So Eren goes over there and so he goes on, he pisses her off, and it's like, okay, Eren, fight her. So all of a sudden Annie's face looks so angry that Eren's like, oh great, like, I'm fucked. Thanks, Reiner. Like, this girl does not mess around. So, all of a sudden, Annie goes on and drops Aaron. And because she basically, like, trips him, and Aaron doesn't like the fact that this girl was doing some dirty pool, some garbage trickery. Annie doesn't care. She freaking won. The guy's on the ground. So the more that Annie's even his back is turned to Aaron, she again goes on and takes him down and has him just flop onto the ground, and now his legs are above his head. So shortly after that, Aaron is turned to Reiner. It's like, your turn. You go get her now. And then Reiner is like, I don't know about that. Like, but if anything, Reiner is like, well, if anything, I'm going to be honorable and realize that I can't back down from anybody. So Reiner goes on and gets freaking clocked with his ass in his face also, with his feet meeting his head, and be in the same position that Aaron's in. So if anything, the guys are going on and asking, like, hey, where did Aaron learn that? Or Annie. I'm sorry, not Aaron. Annie. And Annie's like, well, really, does it matter? Like, if anything, like, look around. There's nobody that really cares about this fighting. Like, there's a lot of guys that realize that that's not going to help them graduate. Like, if anything, look at everybody just going through the motions. They don't care about fighting. And Aaron goes on, like, yeah, they're going on and they're taking it easy on one another. And if anything, they're not really training to survive. They're training to run away. Like, they're going on and doing the most minimal amount of work possible, because if they realize that they're going to go up against a tough opponent, that they're just going to run. So that becomes like an interesting bit of dialogue there. And so Aaron and Annie fight one last time, and so they talk about how people fight, and that some people don't fight to win. So uh if anything in this game, like, don't be a pawn to it. So man, we almost wow, we got a couple more sections to go here. Holy so I really have to go on and really have to cut through the quick here, because man, we're getting almost 2 hours in. So let me pause here again. Okay, I want to cut through a lot of this part, because really the next thing that kind of comes in is like everybody's kind of circling around these tables, and they're all starting to talk about where it is that they think they're going to be best positioned. We go and have one guy, I think, who's Marlowe, I think is it at some point comes in the dialogue, but maybe it's not. But either way, there's one guy that thinks that it's perfect to just be an MP, and Gene goes on and is kind of upset with this guy of like, oh, so you're just going to be an MP so you can be alongside the king, and you think that is to be like a really good position, but if anything, also kind of lazy, and you're not really putting your life enough at risk. But then also, Aaron kind of pipes in against Gene to just be like, oh, but I'm sure you, Gene, are going to go on and be the person that goes on and is to work your way into finding a job opportunity where you don't go on and you ever see one fight of any Titan whatsoever. So I'm sure that's where you're going to go on and try to wiggle your way out of ever fighting a Titan ever. So the two of them, like, this conversation gets heated. Gene goes on and grabs onto Aaron's shirt. Aaron, of course, gets upset about it. And eventually, the more and more that these guys start to get upset, Keith comes into like, hey, like, did I hear any rumblings? And one person ended up saying, oh, yeah, one person just farted. Oh, they say that Sasha just farted. And Keith is like, oh, why am I not surprised? Because she's the girl that eats more than anybody. So yeah, she should be the one that farts. Yeah, that was the rumble. That was the horrible sound. And so now we cut to some narration, and also we cut to them all graduating and needing to now to have the decision to decide where to go. They go on and they talk about each one of the classes and where everyone could go, the scouts, the MPs, um, and so on and so forth, different jobs for different people, and starts to talk about all the classifications. And so the MPs have technically already been named. So if anything, like, it's all about everyone else who really just kind of has to choose where they're going to go. So we're almost we're almost close. Man, we still have kind of two sections here. So I'll try to cut through them as best I can to kind of mitigate all of this stuff. So man, Aaron just, like, man, we have like all these kind of arguments that Gene keeps having with people. So here's where they talk about the whole, like, uh where they talk about the whole, like, 3 square meals a day for life, and how Gene is very upset that he got ranked under Aaron of all people, and here's where uh Aaron, instead of getting an MP, he's gonna go on and do a scout no matter what. And then Mikasa's like, okay, well, I'll go and I'll become a scout too, because that's what Aaron wants. So we have people that are going on and basically telling how Aaron is insane for being a scout, and how um how really he's gonna realize that us as a human race has not made progress against the Titans. And if anything, um, that's what they should be pushing towards. They should try to be pushing, because no one is. No one is going on. Like, everybody, like, the human race is going on and hiding from the Titans instead of going on and going after them. And somebody should be that guy. Somebody should be the person that is to just be like, no more. Like, somebody should be the guy that the human, pushes all these cadets, pushes all these people to uh, not only go after these Titans, but take them out, because somebody has to. So and Eren is going on and telling everybody we need to take back what's ours, and so they go on to tell Eren good luck and call him Hotshot, and Armin is also, he said that he would go on and he would join the scouts, and so I've already talked about Mikasa. So now here is where we have Arwen and a number of scouts all coming in. And as they're coming into town, Eren is to talk to Mikasa and Armin about like, man, like, hasn't the tone around town kind of changed as soon as they see these scouts coming in? And that's what Eren is kind of hoping for, that every time he like comes home, like there's a welcoming, uh there's like people that are to go on and kind of be more uplifted by everyone returning. So uh so here's where also certain cadets or certain soldiers are talk about the changes that they've made since the last bit of Titans kind of skirmishes, and I'm getting a little lost in the weeds here. I'm just kind of saying words so I have something to say here, in all honesty. So, uh, so here is where um, Hans meets back up with Eren, and here's where he talks about Eren's mother's deaths haunting him. And Eren says, "Me too, uh, but it wasn't your fault. And we were just shooting in the dark then. Uh, but nothing like that is ever going to happen again. And we now know what we're dealing with. And we're now more fired up and more capable than we ever been. And so we go on and we have all of this, the cadets that are now preparing all these cannons, and so here's where Sasha goes on and is to pull out this meat from her coat and says how she took it, and they're like, yeah, if you do that, you're gonna get arrested. Like Sasha is ending up basically being a thief, but also Sasha goes on and explains to everybody, it's like, well, uh, can you imagine the sandwiches though? Like, we haven't had meat in forever here. And everybody starts to pipe in. It's like, well, god dang it, I'd like a sandwich too. Like, we'll have to make a sandwich later. So, as everybody starts to pipe in about this, all of a sudden, as Eren kind of looks out on the town, and he's questioning about has it really been this long of 5 years? And then all of a sudden, coming from behind him is the Colossus Titan that all of a sudden appears from out of nowhere. Eren turns, and we start to have certain cadets that start following, and luckily they have their gear with them. At one point, one of the cadets fall, and Sasha uses her gear to go on and capture him, so that way he won't fall to his death. So Eren is to be the one that, of course, is to be like, well, not again. Like, this is not going to happen. This is not the end. So Eren goes on to make his way back up to the Colossal Titan, faces against him, and says that it's been a while. Because, yeah, they haven't had, like, a Titan attack in a while in this story. So now they've gone on to realize that this is happening again. So it's like, okay, this time around, we're going to see how they're going to go on and how they're going to deal with this and how they've prepared better to take this threat out. Like, now that we had gone on to have these people more better prepared, I want to see how different this fight is going to be. Plus, also with all these characters with now gear on, because they didn't have that before when they were at the first original town, because there was nobody of scouts out there then. Now that they have them here now, like, we'll see how this all kind of comes together within this fight. So with that said, I'm going to get the heck out of here because I know it's over 2 hours, and I'm sure a lot of people will be groaning and moaning about how long these take, and I get it. Because every one of them are getting to a point of really extraneous amount of time for some of them, but at least I'm trying to keep them under at least 3 hours, just to be like my make or break. Because yeah, in those later videos on that other channel, man, did I get like really just I went a little crazy with those videos on the lengths. But people probably still feel that with any of these videos. But also, it took me like 30 minutes or something crazy to prep this whole thing and talk about all this stuff. So I guess that could really go on and kind of really cement that it's like, well, that's where the time went with like the 30 minutes of prepping this whole thing to go back into talking about this thing all over again. So with that said, I feel good about just yeah, it's a 2 hour video. I'm gonna put this one out there, see how this one goes. Uh I did kind of want to go on and maybe try to do a video right after this to hope that I can do one video that'll go on and be uploaded tomorrow morning, and then do another video tomorrow to kind of keep this all together. So that way I can keep saying that I'm going to at least keep trying to do these. Yeah, I'm going to keep trying, hoping to do the best foot forward of all these videos. But anything also, I'm just kind of getting some wear and tear of just like I never get a day off of this. I'm always doing something. But if anything, like the one saving grace is that like I'm kind of doing it to like one video a day, which is good. I'm trying not to like double up on videos a day unless I absolutely have to. Um, so that's when I go on and I maybe try to just plop things I already did as projects, and then kind of take the time of the other second project or something. But yeah, like it's all about me going on and just trying to just keep putting projects out there, but also uh, try to like rush these out as quickly as I can because I know how a lot of people will um, kind of well, like I want to keep getting these projects out there. Like I know there's sometimes where I get them out way too late, or I get them out like just way crack of dawn early, and people are just like, really? That like I haven't found a perfect schedule yet of when to drop these because I haven't found a perfect schedule of when to actually accomplish them and do them, and because it changes every time. I wish I could definitely go on and be able to have a content that I can always do that does well, that can always be through every process be done perfectly the same thing every time so we can exactly know how much time these will take, but it just doesn't happen that way. Like there's sometimes where a project takes a huge chunk of time to go through the process all of, and that's what really just kind of kills me getting more than one project done. But anyways, I'm going to project myself out of here because I know I'm going to try to get out of this one so I can upload this, but also scramble and try to thrust out another project right after this, or at least get that one started and then review it the following morning, uh, so that way I can get technically my two projects done. Um, anyways, so goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you all for whoever may have voted for this, or probably voted for High School of the Dead, or probably just voted on this one because out of the number of things that I listed, this is the only thing that you could really uh, be attracted to want to see as a review. But I wanna say that I hope that I can just earn some people's trust, because also I'm starting to realize that the views are kind of slipping already. Plus, uh, I'm not going on into the bigger titles just yet. I'm a little too slow on this. If anything, Universal Soldier was like a big thing for the channel, but I need to get back into bigger titles, or otherwise, all this progress that I've made is gonna be nothing if I don't have any big titles to get the interest of people in. I hope maybe this title is gonna be big enough. Hence, also maybe the reason why I want to kind of lean into doing some anime stuff, even though I've kind of committed to doing a lot of shows anyways. That I'm kind of getting worried about that. Yeah. Um, and I've already kind of explained to that on my community post, where I'm just kind of like, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna get these titles out as quickly as I want to, and I'm kind of getting worried about it. But also, I'm just deciding, hey, let's do even more shows that I'm sure have way too much stuff into them that I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be able to commit to all this, because that's what I was trying to avoid, was to not have too much commitments going on. That's why I was doing movies, or kind of doing like these kind of more one-off projects that I could just be like, okay, let's just do this one-off film that has no franchise attached to it. That's what I was trying to do, I think, at first, or kind of do the new release stuff where it's like, yeah, obviously we have to do Spider-Man Brand New Day, and actually that did really well for the channel, regardless of what my thoughts were of it. Um, and I'm grateful that people were to go on and like some of the early videos that I put onto this channel. I appreciate anybody that does anything, because it by the way that the numbers are going, I'm just like, man, my only goal right now is to do as well as when I left that other channel. And honestly, with only weeks of progress, it seems we're getting close to that goal, to where all that I will ask then is that I can just hope to keep this momentum going, because I am nowhere near, of course, like, I need to get like thousands of hours of of a goal, and I'm nowhere near that. I'm like 200 and some. Um, but I think I'm making some kind of headway. But I just need to get bigger titles, and I need to get uh like, I don't want to say a momentum, because that's really forcing everybody to just like come out of the woodwork and watch all these. Um, because like, don't want to I don't want to feel that people should be obligated to these things. Like, I want people to come to this content because they want to have fun, because they probably do enjoy it, um, and they want to reminisce or nostalgia, or they want to whatever. Um, but either way, I'm gonna get out of here because this video is going on for too long. Because I tend to do these like really super long tangent rants at the end of these, and it's just getting out whatever I feel, and I haven't done that for a while because I just kind of been rushed to cut these by the end of it all. But like, I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling good. I feel that I have a good chance here. Um, I think I was so very much also like in the previous channel. I was so stubborn in my plus also I knew on that other channel also that like I was in too much of a spiral that there is no way but down with that. So uh but yeah, like I say that but also um like I don't know where this channel is going to head. Like also um I also am kind of feeling that uh early luck is going to happen in this. There's going to be uh some projects that I'm still leaning on to do well, that like I need to get to bigger projects. So hopefully this one is going to be something that I can kind of carry the channel on. Please, just I hope that if people are really fans of Attack on Titans, they just watch a lot of like just watch this quite often, because that'll just very much help. Um, I'm not saying like we just have a large number of people all just watch this for 1 minute. That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying for somebody to watch this like 2,000 times, because that would be crazy. Plus, also, I'm sure a lot of people would say that they uh, don't like to hear these 2 hour rants, which is fine, because I'm not asking you to. I'm not even asking you to watch this for 30 minutes. I'm just do something to have this at some point get some kind of view. That's all I'm asking. So, but I thank everyone who has already gone on and put a lot of work into this channel, because I'm trying to resurrect it from the dead, and I'm hoping that we can um, get into like again. Um, I'm picking up some bigger titles. Also, there was a whole week that I had planned that kind of went in the garbage, where I was like, hey, yeah, I'm going to get momentum to start these bigger projects. Like, I was going in to obviously cover stuff like the Captain Americas, the Thors, and I was planning on doing some stuff that was going to sequel on to bigger projects. But yeah, like, I just kind of got caught up in some of these projects, and I just naively was like, "Oh yeah, I can just go on and review Green Lantern. That makes sense. Oh, I can just review this." Like when really looking at it, I made a lot of mistakes because like I also like to go on and like to do stuff in a certain pattern. Like I don't like to jump around. Um, like at some point when I was just on to the other channel, I just stopped caring at some point. I just got really frustrated, and it uh got me to the point where I was just like, I'll just put out whatever, blah, and like that was just my clear cut mistake. But I know I'm kind of going on and chucking other videos from the other channel kind of back over here to see if they do better, or just to kind of have a library. I'm very concerned just about just not having enough videos. And also, if I put out these videos fast enough and they do something like that's just generating more views that is going to come on here. That's all I was trying to do with that. Like like I'm I'm not putting other videos on this channel um trying to trick people or anything like that. Like I'm honestly just I'm honestly just saying that like I'm afraid that I don't have enough videos here, and that's why I'm doing that. Plus also like I'm uploading them on days when most of the time I wouldn't have been uploading. So like at least for those people who never saw a lick of content on the other channel and they have been here, you're gonna see a video that you never saw on the other channel because you never subscribed to it, you never were part of it, you never saw it. So like what I'm putting on here is just stuff that I liked that wasn't to be hugely impactful on the other channel that I'm just trying to um that I'm hoping will do better here because there's a lot of stuff that's actually doing better here than it like Ghost Rider was is doing better. Um, even Terminator is kind of view wise doing a little bit better, but then again, I don't know. Um, I think there's also a lot of videos where if I may have taken the time a little bit more to do a better thumbnail, just do some adjustments a little bit more with the video, I think it would have went better. But I just kept pushing shit out as quickly as possible, and that was my biggest mistake or regret. That other channel could have gone better if I really would have just thought it through and taken the time to be thinking things over. Cause yeah, when I came over to here, I'm like, I'm gonna try to do things better. And yeah, like not every video is doing like 1,000 views, and we're not getting like a subscriber every day or what. Like that's not what I was thinking. Cause like I was not gonna think that I'm gonna be a perfect rhythm, like cause that never happened ever for even when I got like thousands of video of views on the other channel. Like that didn't happen overnight. Like that happened after very long time of having a video on a channel, and then eventually it just kept growing and it got bigger. Um or it eventually like there was so like I think maybe the Patrick Swayze Ghost movie did really well very quickly, but everything else, like when eventually it grew to like huge numbers, like yeah, like that happened over like a long amount of time where all of a sudden just bizarrely everybody just tuned in finally to like Captain America Winter Soldier. Everybody just thrusted into that video. Um and that just took a long time to get that thumbnail right and get all the other ducks in a row with all these other projects. Not again to say that I'm scheming, because I'm not. Like, again, all this is just have fun. And it took me coming onto a channel that I thought was dead. Um, clearly. Um, and it's just like, why is it that now, like, I'm very confused about the way things are going up. I'm grateful for it, but I'm also just like how is it that things are kind of doing well? Because I kind of assumed that I was gonna come here and basically do the same thing that I was doing over there. So it's just like, what did I do here that I wasn't doing over there? Um, Plus, also, I think it's just at this point I'm kind of doing bigger titles than I was over there. Um, but even that, like, it's not big enough. But nothing is good enough. Like, if anything, I'd have to rack my brain and just do like 1,000 shorts in like one day that kind of covers like a good amount of ground of like every single combination of a movie. Like I'll just do shorts for every one of them to kind of make up some ground with. But yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Like that would I would die if I did all that work. Um, just to see what could be popular, just so that way we can make videos on it. It would be crazy. Uh, I always even go on and do like a DVD or a movie collection thing, where I covered that, and that kind of just didn't really help me because also like the analytics like don't really in the best way like help me like figure out where to go next. If anything, it's still like a guessing game. Um, and there's a lot of times I can't even trust what YouTube tells me. So that's kind of stupid. Uh, or I have to kind of guess what YouTube really means with their, yeah. But it's strange. So that's I'm gonna get the heck out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. We'll figure this out at some point, right? I know a lot of people go on and have an exact answer and have done this before, or whatever. Um, that's great. Um, like I'm to say that I go on and I still do like a lot of research. I've done a lot of research. I have a whole other YouTube channel with a number of stuff that I can bring over here, or um, that there was like hundreds of stuff to just be waiting in the wings. Case in point, like this show, I had gone on to have watched at least the pilot before. So yeah, so going into this, like I think a lot of people go on and they think that everybody's new to like because yeah, there's a lot of people that I guess like there's a lot more YouTubers that go on and they do these like first time movie and show reviews because they've never really watched anything in their life or they're pretending that that's their personas. Um, because that somehow works in an algorithm. I don't know what. But I want to come on here to figure out a way to help people find more interesting projects because I am to do that homework. Um, that's what I'm really here for. But anyways, I should get out of here so I can do other projects. So bye, buddy. Bye, buddy.